myself. Let me do that again. No. Well, we're just so excited to be here at noon, in the noon hour.
That's right.
Now, this is our new time. So thank you to everyone who's tuning in your lunch break. That's very nice of you to do that. And joining me, I'm Paul Raphael. Joining me in the studio, Shelley Rugg.
Hello.
Stephen Hurwitz.
Hello.
And...
you, Paul Raphael.
That's it. That's all here. So what we do every week, if you haven't tuned in before because, you couldn't do it because you're at work. It was 11. What we do every week is come up with a topic and we invite listeners to call in. It's not about us talking about things. We do that, but usually we're not really expert in the topic.
Speak for yourself.
And we rely on listeners to call in and give us their opinions, their knowledge, their wisdom on various topics. And today,
what is it?
It's more of a personal one. Usually we're doing things that are sort of global issues or national issues or county issues or
confessional.
But this is more of a personal one, and just for a change of pace. It is, we're talking about pivotal moments in life. Those moments you may not even realize, as you were saying earlier, you may not even realize that at the time that it was a life-changing moment, a moment that would set the course for your life. It could have been a simple accident, a simple meeting with someone, a kiss.
Those forks in the road.
All those forks in the road that actually change the course of your life. And we'd be interested, if you wouldn't mind, if you would call in. 415-663-8492 is one line, and the other line is 415-663-8317. And when you call in, just hang on. You'll hear a weird little buzzy noise as I put you in the system. Hang on until you hear me say, "You're on the air," and then give us a name. Doesn't have to be your name. Could be any name. Turn your radio down so we don't get feedback. And please, keep the language clean. This is a live show. We have no delay, and everything goes out real time. So
right.
Keep the language clean if you would. Okay, pivotal moments.
Yeah, I've heard another term, shock points.
Shock point.
Yeah. Things that happen that can really trigger change, sometimes whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I can see that.
Pivotal events in your life.
Yeah. Well, I was born.
That was, there you go.
And that was pivotal. When I came out of the womb,
conception and birth.
I just started crying immediately. I couldn't handle the change.
Reason.
I was all warm and cozy, and next thing you know, it's freezing in there. So that was the first one.
Yeah. That's a universal,
get us started
at the very pivotal
beginning.
event right there. 415-663-8492. Just, I
remember one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think I was like, 12, 13 years old, maybe younger even, and I was in New York City. My parents, we lived in Ohio, so we'd go to New York every now and then. They like to go to the shows or whatever. And my brother and I would wander around Manhattan. This is when you could still wander around Manhattan Island as a kid.
Oh.
And there was a movie theater that we went into, and Alec Guinness was playing in the film A Horse's Mouth.
About the artist.
And it had a profound effect on me for two reasons. One, I had never been to a real film. I'd always seen these movies, and all of a sudden I was looking at something that was different. It was really a creative, artistic event, and it had a profound effect on me. Plus, this character, Gully Jimson, was just this wild and crazy guy, and he was an artist besides. And so it got me really intrigued about being an artist and knowing that there was another level to something that I had never known before. That was pivotal for me.
Really, and
it really was.
You realized that at the time, or you look back later in your life and that was... I
was affected emotionally at the time, but no, you look back at these things, but I still remember it. I can even remember that very moment.
Jimson.
Yeah, Gully Jimson.
Where he cuts a hole in the floor so the
my God.
sculpture can... Yeah.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Talking about rule breaking and, just being ridiculously... taking ridiculous liberties with social mores, as we say.
Yeah, destroying his great artwork. He said, "I'm the only one that could do it." Morally, only he could do it.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That was early, though. That was when you were a kid, a teenager.
Yeah, early teen.
Early teen.
Yeah,
right.
early.
Well, let's see. My turn, perhaps.
Yeah, what you got, Paul?
Well, there is one really big pivotal event in my life, which was basically one sentence that a friend of a friend said, quite by accident, quite by chance. That anyway, it was that we went to his house and I was playing hooky from work, and it was just one of those things, and. Walked into the guy's house over on the north coast of Cornwall, beautiful place. Had a huge dining table that he had built, like an ancestral hall, tiny table. And it was completely covered with a chart of the Atlantic Ocean.
Uh-huh.
All the shores of the Atlantic Ocean. And the sentence was, "Hey, Paul, do you want to sail to America?"
Wow.
Yes.
And that really, that really set up all the other pivotal events in my life. But that was the one that really just whoosh.
Yeah.
That came out of nowhere. And circumstances, I've talked about this on the show before, but circumstances were such that everything else in my life was falling apart as well. So it was like...
Perfect timing.
Time to go.
Yeah.
And that gave me, it wasn't long before I realized that this was a pivotal event. It got me on the ocean for 7 years and just traveling and
7 years,
being very flexible about where if things came along that sounded good, it was probably don't think it out too much. Just go ahead. Don't do this, kids. Just remember.
Well, at the same time, I think, do this, because that's how stuff happens. Things show up on our path, and if we're trotting our path in a direction that pleases us, and things show up, go for it.
Yeah,
you can always change.
I always say I have had an incredible life, and it really all stemmed from that. That was what got me everywhere in the world. It helped me meet a lot of people, a lot of female
what
people.
What age were you in
that was mid-20s.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Perfect age for that.
Just starting your life.
And every person I've met along the way, including here for the past 26 years, fabulous. Especially the female people in my life have taught me how to be a man all the way through.
Nice.
Ever since then, really, because I met quite a few of them around the world, and wonderful. I've been a very lucky man. All from that one thing, really.
Nice.
Set me in the vagabond life. 415.
I look back at those junctures.
663-8492. Give us a call. Let us, if you feel like it, or just to talk in general about pivotal moments.
In retrospect, I look back at a lot of these junctures and realize that I wasn't even aware of the impact, the importance of those decisions and those changes. Yeah, it's not until later, and you might say, "What were you thinking?"
Yeah, well, that's maybe that's part of the definition of a pivotal event, is something that sneaks up on you. You don't see it coming.
Maybe we need it. Yeah, maybe if we are conscious of every choice that we make and its effects, might be paralyzes.
Yeah, if you had your whole life mapped out ahead of you, I'm going to do this and then this and then this. But then something is always going to happen. You're going to be ill. You're going to have a accident of some kind. You're going to meet somebody. You're going to get divorced or whatever.
I did a little workshop. I attended a workshop. It was a small workshop about how to know whether to say yes or whether to say no. And it has to do with tapping into how your body, the sensations in your body. So if you think about something, that you absolutely know, oh, no way, I would do that. And you can kind of start to imagine it and know how that feels when you definitely know no. Some things, it feels like a gray area, so it's harder to recognize. So if you can, really feel those sensations in your body, and then likewise, a whole body yes. Somebody's holding up a puppy. Yes, I want to hold that puppy, of course. And you can feel that in your body, right? And so then beginning to notice that in the moment. So for me, when I'm faced with a choice, I ask myself, it's sort of like...
is this a puppy?
With the woman who talks about cleaning your house, does it spark joy? You're holding this object in your hand and deciding, do I keep it or do I toss it? And so you ask yourself, does it spark joy?
Spark joy. Wow.
And, can I live without it? Am I going to be okay? It's not going to hurt me. So when presented with that fork in the road, similarly, you can say, does this feel good? Am I excited about this? Is this sparking joy in me? Or is this not right for me right now? So that's a helpful tool.
Yeah, and definitely gut feelings. I mean, that was... Yeah. I actually, at the time of that one sentence, do you want to sail to America? He was from New Zealand. That's why I'm talking in that voice. You want to sail to America? I sort of went, oof, oof, and I didn't say yes right away. But I was certainly thinking about it all the way back home, driving across Cornwall and Devon. And then when we got to where we were going, we went to there was a dance at the college, and I reversed into a parking spot, and the front wheel fell off my car. I took that as kind of a sign.
A sign. Yeah, I think signs do show up. I mean, we can laugh about it, but it kind of is true.
Yeah.
They do.
We have a caller. Caller, you're on the air. What's your name, please?
My name is Charles.
Uh-oh.
In Marshall.
The delightful Charles. Thanks for calling.
Shelley, what was all that sentimentality? If it feels good, do it. What is that?
I was waiting for somebody to call her.
Well,
Is that Gaddafi's law? I mean, what is that?
What it is that we think all of our thinking happens in our brain, but so much
that's true
happens in our gut. And
we have a second brain there.
We talk about gut feelings, but there's a reason for that, because it's true.
Well, there we go. So I see you guys have bumped Good Morning West Marin. Where is their slot now? 1 p.m.?
Yes, right. Good Morning West Marin. From 3 to 5.
I think that the surprising thing is how few pivotal moments there are. There's no gestalt flip. There's no sort of cinematic moment often. We just...
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you don't. If they happened all the time. Well, actually, of course, all actions, every step we take, every decision we make every day, change the course of our lives, perhaps. But no, a pivotal event is one that stands out as being something that was a fork in the road. You took that side road or whatever.
Sometimes it's not even up to us. A pivotal event can happen that's out of our control.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Someone dying, losing a friendship, things like that.
Yeah, but do you think about where you are in life now is based on some very deliberate decisions, or, is it...
in my case, that was a decision that I made, but really the rest of it was just chance, really. It was just what came along and what I was open to, what I was, I tried not to be overthink it. If it was kind of how it is. If you felt like it was the right thing to do, or it sounded like fun, I mean, that's how. That's really what it's all about. Hedonistic I was then. But
that's what you're drawn to. So, people would make a case that in order to find the right path for yourself, notice what catches your attention. Notice what is attracting you, what you're drawn to. And that's for you.
Sounds like the no's, though, are just as important as the yeses, the things that you won't do it.
Right. If you know.
That could have changed your life dramatically.
If you know what you want, it's easier to know when to say no. Yeah.
That seems to me to take a lot of that seems to take a lot of effort. Don't you think you had some basic attitudes that formed when you were young, and that your life is sort of a consequence of those basic attitudes?
My attitude that formed when I was young was that I didn't want to be miserable like my grandparents or my parents were.
Well, that's fair enough.
And so I've always gone after, how can I find good communication, peaceful existence, things like that. And but I also had, my parents were both in the arts, and so I had a very strong, and my uncles and my grandparents, so I had a strong influence there. So that was something that sort of guided my path a little bit.
Yeah, I think of those influences. As well. Oh, here comes a kayaker. I have to put my pants on.
Well, the accident of birth.
It's a pivotal moment.
Talking about the accident of birth,
it's going to be a pivotal moment for them if I don't. I don't know. I suppose. Anyway, I just want to congratulate you on your new time. And,
the coveted noon hour.
The coveted noon hour.
Thank you, Charles.
But so, pivotal moment for you?
I'm sorry?
What was a pivotal moment for you? The kayaker now on their phone reporting you to the authorities?
They've still got a ways. Unless they've got a zoom lens. It's a pivotal moment for me.
Moving to West Marin?
I think, well, no, I mean, I didn't. It was so funny. It'd be sort of fish out of water, because the things that typically attract people to coastal California, I mean, I always had a very strong contempt for coastal California growing up in the Midwest. And
fruits and nuts.
Well, no, it wasn't that. Although, I mean, there was some of that, I suppose. But it was having a very strong feeling of myself as an outsider, and always being suspicious of institutions and groups, and the way in which we're all pressured to conform so much of the time. So I hated school and got kicked out of high school. That was a pivotal moment. How about that?
There you go.
At the end of sophomore year, I was invited to leave. An experience I would have so many other times, mostly from parties.
That's definitely pivotal.
So how did you get so brilliant if you had to...
And if you do have the outsider's perspective, then you can see certain things. It makes you, out of step. It makes certain kinds of things difficult. On the other hand, you wouldn't really trade it. And it also does open up empathy and understanding of other people, because you don't see them through the lens of how you're going to gain some advantage for yourself, how you're going to rise in a particular institution, how you're going to dominate a group that you're in, and things like that. You get to be separate from that. And so, yeah, I suppose that was pivotal. I mean, I went to the bad kids' high school for a semester after I got kicked out, with all the pregnant girls and the guys with tattoos. But now everybody has tattoos. It's not even cool anymore. I don't know what they do now. And that allowed me to see clearly into other people's lives as well. I mean, I was meeting young women who were sort of the mother to all of their younger siblings. I was meeting sort of young men who had sort of zero life chances. There was no path. There was no going into daddy's business, or going off to university and meeting the right sort of people, and sort of joining into a kind of lifestyle or a career path or something like that. And so to see other people who had sort of very few advantages in life, was a great experience, and it gives you again.
So I just let another caller on the line, so that's what you're hearing.
How dare you? I thought it was just one caller. Me.
Well, so that gave you insight into the different strata of life. You went from dueling scars to radical tats.
I would just say that, like the social Darwinist perspective is very strong in our culture, even though nobody articulates it as such. What it means is that whatever you get is what you deserve.
Deserve, yes.
And it really isn't true, but it does suit the people, I'll say just broadly speaking, KWMR listeners, who ended up through, no effort of their own at the top of the heap rather than at the bottom. So nobody would say, I deserve this, although some of them would. That attitude is very, very strong. And what you see when you mix with people outside of your own socioeconomic group or outside of your own sort of lifestyle group, I guess we'd call it today, how much suffering there is in the world and how undeserving we are for all of the things that we have, and how undeserving the people who are poor and suffering are of their misery. And so I thought that was a great thing. So get kicked out of high school. I think there's no chance that a high schooler is listening.
Listen in, kids.
Just in case, drop out, get kicked out. Actually, get kicked out is more fun. And that is my advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
Good advice. Thank you, Charles.
Thanks for calling, Charles.
Cheers. Hello, caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
Vikisa.
Vikisa. How are you?
Yes.
Hi, Vikisa.
I'm going to be brief because you made me think about a pivotal moment. I really couldn't get it out.
Oh, breaking up. Don't move around. We're losing you. We've lost you. That's it. Can you give us a call back? Call back. We want to hear what you have to say. Thanks.
All right.
415-663-8492 or 8317. Give us a call. Tell us about pivotal moments. They don't have to be terribly personal unless you want them to be, but I guess that is a definition though, isn't it? It's a personal.
Yeah. I know. I was thinking about this topic. I tried not to think about it too much before I got here today. But what occurred to me was, oh my gosh, I hope I don't start crying about something, that it could get emotional.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, okay, so when I was 9, my parents got divorced. So that was a big pivotal moment in my family. And it caused a change in my relationship with both of my parents. My mom was extremely needy, and I tried my darndest to fill that need, and, it was impossible.
It's a lot of pressure for a girl.
Yeah, it was a lot. And then my dad, I only saw 4 times a month at that point. So that was different. And,
Well, I have, Charles was saying that we don't, people who are having a hard time don't deserve it. And, nobody deserves to be what level stratum of society they are unless they actually work, unless they're working to get out of that. But, I make no bones about the fact that I've had a fabulous life and I don't deserve it at all. I've done nothing that,
Yeah, but I
don't see how
that gave me all this wonderful thing.
Staying open and present to yourself and the things that are showing up is something. There's a lot of people that'll shut the door immediately on things. And, I guess that was, I had a very stable upbringing in England. My parents were married forever and died within a year of each other, that kind of. But I guess I just wanted to be a bit rebellious against that stability. That helped.
I have a real problem with this business of deserving and not deserving. Whether it's not that you're deserving or you aren't, it's that the fact that you think that you're deserving or not says something about yourself and how your circumstances have turned out or are in the process of. I think it's, to say I'm not deserving.
Well,
I think what we want is we want everybody to be fortunate in so many ways, to be fortunate and then feel that somehow you're not entitled to good fortune.
Well, it's just that a lot of people have good fortune because they work for it. They make conscious decisions. I haven't made conscious decisions really that much. That's fine.
You were subconscious.
I'm certainly not.
Your subconscious took very good care of you.
I'm not embarrassed by my life or the fact that I didn't do anything to deserve it. I was just happened to be in the right place at the right time with a lot of wonderful people around me.
Sometimes people who suffer, though,
thank you, Paul.
People who suffer or work so hard and then it happens, they say, well, you deserve it.
Oh, no.
So somehow there's this connection.
We have a caller. Hey, caller, you're on the air. What's your name, please?
Hi, it's MK.
MK.
I was thinking about pivotal moments.
Well.
And one of my major ones was, do you know the story of the mistaken zygote?
No.
A mistaken zygote. No.
It was in this tourist called The Wolves when the 80s, whenever it came out. It's about this stork flying over the town, and it has a baby and little diaper thing from it's hanging from its beak, and it hits a wind shear, and it drops the baby down the wrong chimney. So the baby grows up not belonging in family, or in family.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
You have broken up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so the baby gets dropped down the chimney to the wrong family.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. And that's how I always felt when I was a child. I looked like the people. I didn't belong in their play. It was like a mismatch somehow.
My brother always said the same
thing.
He's a switched baby.
What?
My brother always said the same thing. He said, I feel I'm a switched baby. They made a mistake at the hospital.
Yeah. I like to drop him down the wrong chimney myself. It's a good way to start. And so when I finally realized that I was happier not being like them, because they wanted me to be like them. They wanted me to be studious and quiet and all the, the sort of invisible New England kind of stuff. And I got out of it and got away, and it was like being reborn into a place where I was much more welcome. And that was a good thing, and that was the pivotal thing, to realize that I didn't want to be like them.
Ah, excellent. There you are.
There you go.
Well done.
All right.
And then, and that led to so many more pivotal events.
It totally did.
Yeah.
I've been pivoting around like a mad woman.
I think marriage is a real pivotal moment in people's lives.
Marriage?
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah.
I've done that a few times.
I found
And it could pivot right to divorce.
That's another one.
No, I always stayed married for more than 10 years.
Oh, okay.
No matter who it was. Anyway, okay, carry on.
Thank you, MK.
Thanks for calling.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, give us a call, 415-663-8492. And tell us about pivotal events. And this is KWMR 90.5 in Point Radio Station, 89.9 in Bolinas, and 92.3 in San Geronimo Valley. Streaming live everywhere, all the time, at kwmr.org. And this is the actual 20th anniversary of KWMR going on the air. It was longer than that since we started in the Green Barn closet and on Horizon Cable. But yeah, this is the day that they hoisted up the antenna outside here.
Hip hip hooray!
And 20 years. Talk about a pivotal event.
There you go.
What
It led to us sitting here right now.
And to West Marin having this amazing little jewel of a radio station, local broadcasters, local people manning the microphones here and womaning the microphones. And
Right.
that's a big change. And we strive to do our best for the community at all times. So feel free to donate at any time. And also, you could tip this show. If you like this show, you can just hit the button on the website, kwmr.org, and hit the Tip This Show. And you can do that with any show, of course.
Yeah.
Any program that's on the air. Happy birthday, KWMR.
Happy birthday.
Do-do-do-do.
Hey, anybody remember the movie Down and Out in Beverly Hills?
Yeah.
That, it seems like that's about pivotal moments when he comes into the life of his family and changes everyone.
Who was in that? Remember?
Richard Dreyfuss, Bette Midler.
Bette Midler, right.
Of course.
Who was the...
Was it Eddie Murphy?
No.
Steady now.
But, I
How
think
can I forget?
literature is full of pivotal moments,
Yes.
So,
and can affect us that way. You read a
Stories.
book and you're never the same.
yeah.
Any pivotal books out there people read that
Pivotal
changed
books.
them?
Give us a call, 415-663-8492.
My mother was fond of handing me books that she thought would make a difference in my life. And a lot of times I just put the book aside because I thought, Mom, let's see you do your life better. And then you can tell me, But this particular book was Deepak Chopra's 7 Secrets of Spiritual Success or something like that.
Seven laws.
7 laws. There you go. And so there's a law for one, each day of the week. And I dove into this book and I started to try to put into practice some of the suggestions that he made. And I started to see my life shifting.
Huh.
I wrote down the things to work on for each day of the week, and I clipped it to my refrigerator. And so each day I'd review it and try to go out into the world and practice these things. And I mean, yeah, my life really did change
Give
for
us
the
an
better.
example of one of the laws.
Oh, gosh, it's been a while since I read the book. But one of the laws is asking yourself, how can you help?
Ah, that's nice. We like that.
And how can you help can lead to knowing people better, expanding your circle, people knowing you better, finding out how you can help. And but I wish I could share better about that book. I just remember that feeling, this experience of wow. And I think it helped me also process when I was deciding to leave my marriage.
Yeah.
And so it helped me to do that. And so there's a pivotal moment.
Well, that was a pivotal moment that you needed some guidance, perhaps.
And I left my marriage, and that changed my life. I was on this path of an artist, and my art career was developing, expanding, growing. It was doing well. But then when I got divorced and I was essentially became a single mom, I had to get a job because I felt insecure about my ability to continue that trajectory on my own as an artist. So that led me to working for nonprofits, which then caused me to learn, so many things that I know today. So, it all worked out.
Yeah,
as they say.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Jobs can be a real, like you were talking about, cause you to work.
Pivotal moment. Yeah.
Where you employed the people you meet. I mean, just accepting a position or a job somewhere, major effect on our lives, our social circumstances.
Right.
Yeah. So accepting a job, I rarely worked in offices. I did work in an office. That was part of the reason I left England, was because I was working for Her Majesty's government. Yes, Secret Service, of course, MI5. But After sailing around, my wife-to-be and I ended up in Hawaii, and I needed lots of root canals done.
Oh,
3
boy.
root canals needed to be done because they'd been botched by a guy in Singapore. I opened the yellow pages, dentists, just
Random.
blind, boink,
Okay.
picked this guy, went down to see him. He said, "Oh yeah, you need a lot of work. I can do it." I said, "Well, how much is it going to be?" And he told me, and I haven't got any money. So he said, "What do you know about concrete?" I go, "Oh boy, it's like my middle name, concrete. Oh, concrete refill."
Yeah, a lot of it on the ocean.
Even though he found out very quickly that I was not being altogether honest and just wanted to get the root canals done, he also had an engineering degree, and he had a house in Hawaii that he wanted to put additions on, and he wanted it done his way. And so here I was, a blank slate basically about building, and he taught me how to build things.
Oh, wow.
And that led on to, well, here I am.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with me, really.
Well, but it's like,
I don't think you deserve that.
it's
actually,
like-
Deserve it. I was lying.
But you were showing up, you were present, and you said, okay, you took a risk,
I
is
did.
what you did. You took a risk, but you had there was something in you that felt like, I can do it.
Well, growing up, fixing a lot of things, I
Yeah.
always worked on my own cars when I was in college, and, I just learned how to do things.
Right.
And I knew I was handy at things.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
We have a caller. Hi, caller, you're on the air. What's your name, please?
I'm trying to figure out who I am.
Oh.
Still.
Identity
It
crisis.
could be a pivotal moment for you.
No, I'm trying to figure out if I'm Sally or Liberace.
Now you've given it away. That's Sally.
Well, everyone, isn't it clear
my
by now?
Goodness.
After 16 years or 17 years.
Secret's out.
17 years on the
17?
Happy Hour.
Wow.
So I think the jig is up.
Oh, dear.
But I've had so many pivotal moments. I've had several, really.
Uh-huh.
And maybe they're not all so fun. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, part of the deal sometimes.
They're really painful, some of them. They're just excruciating. And, so I don't know. I'm still not sure which one to tell you about. So...
The least excruciating.
I was going to say the most.
Oh.
Well, I'll say okay, so this one is interesting because it has to do, in a way, it loops back to KWMR, which is turned 20 years old today. This is the birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, the day.
The day.
So
Yes.
when I was a little girl, I may have even told this story. My brother, who was 7 years and a day older than me, this is the anniversary of his birth today.
Oh, wow.
He came into my room. He said, "I brought you some things." He brought me a turntable that he built. He brought me a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and he gave me an antique radio that he'd fixed. And he put on a reel-to-reel tape and said, "I want you to listen to this music." And I was a little, maybe, I don't know, 7? I'm not really sure how old I was. 7, 6, something. And he put on Spike Jones, Cocktails for Two.
Aha, that explains it.
Doesn't it?
Some secluded rendezvous.
Doesn't it explain pretty much everything?
Yeah.
And he put it on, and it starts out really corny with the little chorus, and it's kind of really serious, sort of deadpan, serious, corny little voices. And I started to get really restless and squirm, and I said, I don't like this. And he said, "Just wait." And then it turns into like melee.
The madness.
Musical, comedic melee madness. It's wonderful. It was, and I giggled and curled up in a ball giggling. And then he played me a Tisket a Tasket by Ella Fitzgerald. And And then, actually, we could probably date this to when this was, because I think he also played The Lonely Bull by Herb Albert.
Oh.
I think. So maybe I was even 8. I don't know, could have been a few years later. And I could actually probably date this by the release of that song. So and then the connected pivotal moment, which is he ran movie theaters. So he ran movie theaters. He built projection systems and ran movie theaters. And he collected films. He had a huge film collection, for which the FBI compiled a dossier on him because they suspected him of piracy, but they didn't understand him. He just really was collecting films and movie soundtracks and things like this and building projection systems. So he then sadly passed away in 1990 from AIDS-related things. So now I have been doing radio and for a long time, since 2001, and I've been doing happy hours since 2002, and now my film show, and it's all for him.
Yeah, look at that. Wow. That is a pivotal moment and a great
legacy.
Sounds like a pretty great brother to have, too.
He was eccentric. But he could get people angry. He wasn't. Lion Filmer is wishing me a happy birthday, and then I'm wishing KWMR a happy birthday. It's one of those things where he was a mechanical genius, and that was directly handed down from my grandfather. He was a completely self-realized mechanical genius. And so that was his thing of, I'm not going to go into the family business, which is automotive brake parts related stuff. I'm going to compile a storage room full of projection parts. But that started when he was little. He had projectors and audio equipment and all these antique radios, and he just rebuilt everything. People were throwing antique radios away in the 60s.
Yeah.
What were they thinking? And he venerated the tube amp. He would have been very friendly with Richard Dillman. So anyway, he was very eccentric and a little bit of a tormented sort of fellow. He didn't have a great relationship with our father. Our father was mystified by him, and that was very difficult. And, there's a lot of complexities involved and a lot of pain. But he was terribly generous and loving, always to me. Always. I was like his little pet. Pet.
How many years apart were you?
That's fine.
7 years and 1 day.
Wow, yeah.
And we even both liked the same boys. I mean, it was...
Yeah, I remember when my youngest brother was born, I was 5 years older, and I used to call him my wubber-dubber. I just loved hanging out with this little chubby baby brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to love those little... Well, I didn't have really a younger sibling, but, yeah.
You were the younger sibling.
I was the baby. My sister lords that over me to this day. She's being 11 years older, so I was the baby by a solid margin, yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to say, because you've done this show on this particular day, and it's my brother's birthday, and...
Yeah.
Well, happy
commemorating
birthday, brother.
his birthday. Thank you,
and
Sally.
really every show is, especially every happy hour show, especially when I play film music and noir soundtracks. And it's really for him.
What's his name?
Richard.
Richard, happy birthday.
Schwarsh. And happy hour, of course, is every Friday from 5 to 7 p.m.
Yeah, there's some terrible, just, I don't know, crazy man who infiltrates that show every week.
Some
with
weird
French name.
guy.
I don't know who he thinks he is, but anyway. But
he's probably drunk, that's why.
We're going to have a special cocktail this Friday commemorating KWMR's 20th birthday.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you, Sally. That was lovely.
Bye.
Bye.
The number to call, we still have, we've got about 10 minutes left, 9 minutes. 415-663-8492. Tell us one of your pivotal events in your life. We all have them, of course. I guess.
Yeah, pivotal event to leaving a job and moving up here.
Yeah, there
you go.
Yeah. Your West Marin life began.
Yes.
I was thinking definitely a pivotal point. When I was younger, I wanted to be an architect.
Me too.
Yeah. And my father, who was a guy who couldn't draw a straight line with a ruler, the whole idea terrified him. And I just let him talk me out of it. And I think that changed my life dramatically, really. I think my life would have been very different. It was a very creative activity, whereas I didn't find law to be very creative. It is. It's very creative, but not the way my mind worked.
Right.
And
not the way you wanted to.
It wasn't visually it's not visually creative, which is what
it was right
I'm
for
drawn
him,
to.
Not for you. Was he a lawyer, or what was he?
My father, he was a what you'd call today an entrepreneur.
Oh, businessman.
We lived in Ohio. Everybody was in the steel business in Ohio. He was in the steel business.
Steel.
I see.
The Rust Belt. Now it's all rusted.
The recycled steel. He was in recycling.
He was a recycler. Yes, he was a junk man.
Junk man's recycling. Excellent.
Early recyclers.
Yes. And, Well, so, I went to architecture school, managed to do 2.5 years, and then realized I was never going to be good at this.
I loved all those straight, perfect lines.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I still write in capital letters.
Me too. Once you start doing that, it's terrible.
My cursive script is just illegible completely now.
You and doctors.
Even I can't read it. It's just terrible. But anyway, there you go. So you went into law and then didn't practice?
I did. I practiced for several years. Yeah, I was a defense attorney during the age when people were being arrested for possession of marijuana and other drugs. I was a defense drug lawyer.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
They were all guilty. God forbid I had a not guilty person. I was a travel agent.
Travel agent? Oh.
Yeah. Got them through this system with the least amount of harm.
I see. Yeah, right. Oh. Pivotal events. Well, birth, marriage. Death, marriages.
You know, like you were kind of alluding to earlier, that you can pivot in any moment.
Yeah.
All the choices we make can have an effect whether we realize it now or not.
Exactly.
In the path of our lives. But, some things are more noticeable.
Yeah, a word spoken to somebody else, could change their life and yours.
Just one word,
the things people say.
Yeah. And, of course, there was a terrible where Sally used to live before we moved in together. She had a neighbor of hers was killed on Friday night, I think, by a drunk driver. There's a decision.
Oh, boy.
There's pivotal for him and for her, definitely for her and one of her dogs. And, his life is not going to be the same.
How do you follow that?
Thank goodness.
Just a few words can change your life forever. I mean, really, thinking back on times when someone spoke to me.
Yeah. For me, it was, I had a really hard time getting along with my mother. She was bipolar and would lose it at a moment's notice. And some guy she was dating at the time, he and I were in the car waiting for her, and he said to me, your mother is your teacher. And at that time, what it made me realize is, as miserable as I was feeling by the way my mother was treating me, there was something I was learning from that. And so that really colored things for me as I move forward. Not just with my mother, but, it's like, what are you noticing? What can you learn from different situations? And, now I can say, well, one of the things I learned from living with my mother was patience. I had to have a lot of patience.
And you mentioned earlier you went into nonprofit work. Was that as a result of learning what you learned about by living with your mother? I mean, was it to do with that? Was it in the mental health realm?
No, it wasn't. It was in the arts. So while I was still married, I had my 2 little babies, and I was really craving interacting with other adults and moving in a direction towards my career. And I found an art center that I could teach art classes at, and they were totally happy to work with me with my lack of practice. I hadn't taught before, and they were willing to work with me that I had these 2 little kids, and getting involved with that organization on a volunteer basis led me to a lot of learning. I ended up taking over their street fair event that they did every year, and I took it from the red into the black and kind of became a hero of the street for a few years.
Can you take me in from the red to the black?
And so I just sort of on-the-job training by volunteering then caused me to later be able to get a paid position for a different arts nonprofit. And, sort of like you with your concrete. You didn't actually know how to do the concrete, but you were resourceful. You knew that you could figure it out.
Do it if someone told me how to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, I've learned how to be resourceful over the years, and then one gig leads to another gig. So that's Yeah.
They're all little.
I think for me, in terms of my art career, I think being introduced to clay was a huge change for me. Getting my hands dirty, I was throwing things on the wheel. It was just, when people say, "Oh, I'm depressed," or I say, just go throw some pots. This whole business of centering, using your hands, focusing on getting back into the earth. I think it is a tremendously therapeutic experience.
Hands-on, 3-dimensional.
Absolutely.
Molding.
Absolutely.
Get
out there and throw pots. No, and it's fire. All the
throw
earth,
the pots
fire,
against the wall
air.
And they break, and that's exciting.
It has it all.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was mumbling under my breath.
I didn't deserve it, but I got it anyway.
Throwing fired pots.
Right.
We're going to finish a little early to give Julie Motz the stage, where she is no doubt waiting outside, I'm guessing. And thank you, everybody. Thank you to all our listeners. Thank you to all our callers. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Stephen.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Paul.
And happy birthday, KWMR,
Whoop, whoop.
and Richard Schwarz. And KWMR does not take a stand on any of the issues discussed on Let's Talk. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts and callers and don't necessarily reflect the views of KWMR, its board of directors, underwriters, or members. We'll be back at our new time next week from noon to 1 every Thursday. This has been Let's Talk. And, yes, coming out next is Julie Motz will be here. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.